friends. Welcome back. On today's lesson, we are going to be talking about the difficult concept of karma. And let me kind of do a little disclaimer here and just say I don't know everything there is to know about karma. It's a very, very complicated subject, but I'm going to do my best to try to give you a little bit of information about it and to try to draw a connection between how it may be affecting you and you not even be realizing it. And that sucks. So, I have been a student of spiritual concepts for a very, very long time. And part of that came about from me just really trying to figure out why my own life was not working. I was praying to God, I was doing all the Christian things, and I was still just not in a very great place. And I walked around with this almost like a low grade depression, and that I never really got real high, but I never really got real low. I was just almost numb to everyday existence. And the way I describe it is that it was just a feeling of gray. I'm looking around. I had been married for some time at that point. My marriage was actually, decent. No marriage is perfect, but we were actually getting along pretty good. I had a job where I made a decent living. But I just wasn't there, and I knew that I apologize, I see a little mess on my hair here, but I knew that I needed to do something. I just kept thinking, you know what, I can't be happy, and I want to be happy. And I looked at other people when they seemed happy, but I wasn't happy. And I had all the material things, the cars, the houses, all of that, the jewelry, the shoes, the clothes, the Coach bags, all of that I had, but I wasn't happy. And so I set out on this quest to try to find happiness. And boy, I uncovered a lot. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here on YouTube, and I have a podcast called Saturday Morning Chats, in which I dive deep into some of the concepts and some of the things that I found on my own journey to trying to figure out what happiness looks like. And so, one of the things that I came across off and on over the years was this concept of karma. But it was only in recent times that I really started to notice and pay attention to what the concept meant. In the Christian discipline, of which I am, we don't really talk about karma a lot, but you will hear it referred to as the concept of sowing and reaping. So if you are Christian, if that is your discipline through which you act out your spirituality or practice your spirituality, think of it in terms of the concept of sowing and reaping. In other words, you are constantly planting seeds that are one day going to germinate. And the more that you nurture those seeds and water those seeds and feed those seeds, the bigger the harvest is going to be, whether that is good or whether that is bad. And so karma is a different word for that same concept. And karma comes from the Hindu tradition out of India and that particular region. They kind of refer to it as a law of action. And basically, it's real similar to the concept of sowing and reaping. It's just that the things that you're doing, the words that you're speaking, the actions that you are making or performing or doing, those things are kind of building up a repository of stuff. And one day, all of that stuff is going to kind of manifest itself in your life. So if I kind of had to boil down the concept of karma, I would bridge both of those two traditions definition of that concept, in that I would simply say what you're saying, what you're thinking, what you're doing is actually creating some future situation for you that you're going to have to deal with. And that is either negative or positive. That is my understanding of what karma is. As you are living life, as you are performing or acting or choosing or doing or saying or living, you are creating this repository of stuff. And one day that stuff is going to manifest in your life. And so the trick for us is to stop doing that. And so that is why I'm coming to you today. Why should we care about karma or the law of sowing and reaping? And sometimes you may even hear it be referred to as the law of reciprocity. In other words, what you put out, you're going to get back. The terms don't matter. You want to care about it because if you spent your life being a negative thinker, of which I was, if you spent your life being a person who is extremely critical or judging other people, if your thoughts or beliefs haven't been as clean or as pure or as holding a higher level of vibration as they should, you're actually creating a future state. Now, does the future state have to manifest? It doesn't. But the way that you keep the future state from manifesting is by stopping the karmic process, is by refusing to continue to add to the muck and the mire, as I always refer to it as. So you're going along and you're living your life, and let's say for a long time you were a negative thinker, and I raise my hand to that because that was me, very fearful, very anxious person. So I have created, in a sense, this repository of all of these negative things and circumstances. But the beauty of it is that your now moment decides what your future is. So you have the choice in the now moment to stop creating the karma. So in this particular instance, we'll use the one that I just gave you from my own life. As I was building up that negative state or that negative repository, the way that I can stop, essentially blow up the bridge from that actually getting to me, is by every choice that I'm making in this now moment. So if I continue to be negative, if I continue along that chain of low vibration, I am now on the same wavelength as all of that stuff that I have created. But every single moment is a choice. If you're from the Christian discipline, then you know that the Bible repeatedly tells us, choose whom you will serve. Those kinds of things are referring to these larger spiritual concepts. We've always taken that to mean just, are you going to serve Jesus or are you going to serve the devil? However you want to look at it, or whatever term you want to assign to it, it doesn't matter. The concepts are the same across all disciplines. If you want to say it's evil and Satan and that works for you, that works for me. You can call it that. The thing is, you just want to stop doing it. So, if you're Christian, the Bible tells us, choose who you will now serve. Don't serve the negative vibration. Don't add to it. Don't continue to build it. Sever the tie. And then you don't have to worry as much about those particular things manifesting in your life. Do I believe that you can completely wipe the slate clean? In other words, all of that stuff that I created in those states. Do I believe that you can completely wipe that clean, or I can? I do believe that it's possible, but I believe that it takes a lot of work. And I'm going to be the first to confess that I don't know that I'm 100% there yet. So all of that stuff that I created, there probably is a little bit of a tail on that I'm going to have to earn out. but my power is in this now moment. And to the extent that I can shift off of it through daily practice, things like meditation, through practicing love, through practicing kindness, through being positive, through laughing, through elevating my vibration, if I'm here and that stuff is here, it can't really affect my everyday experience. But as human beings, life does happen, and sometimes my here kind of comes back down. And as it comes back down, then I'm going to have moments where I'm on the same plane with all of that stuff that I created. Some of that stuff is going to flood into my experience. It just is what it is. But now that I have the conscious awareness, very quickly when I feel that I've dropped, and I know that I've dropped basically by how I feel, and if that escapes my conscious awareness, what's going to happen is I'm going to start breaking things. Things are going to start falling off of the wall, or I'm cutting something and I may scrape my finger and I say, uh-oh, okay, I was here, but I can kind of feel myself coming back down here, and that's not where I want to be. So I quickly get myself back up. Positive thinking. If I have to, I'll watch a video. I'll find someone on YouTube that really inspires me and I'll play that, or I'll call a friend that I enjoy talking to, or I'll tell my husband a joke and he and I will fall down on the floor laughing. Whatever it takes to get my vibration back up. And that is a whole talk in and of itself. You do want to be a person that lives at a high vibration, not just because of the karmic aspect to it, but that is where you create positive things in your life. So in essence, all this stuff is really kind of related. But I want to stick to that concept of karma for today's talk, because all this stuff can be a little bit confusing, and to just kind of heap something else in on this talk maybe a little bit too much. But I guarantee you we're going to go into some more of all this stuff and understand that it's all kind of interwoven. So you have this thing called karma, and karma just is your negative experiences. You know what? Let me back up, because I'm calling it negative experiences. It really is not just your negative experiences. We are concerned more about the negative experiences that we are creating. But karma is all of it. It is every word, every action, every thought, whether negative or positive. So let me clear that up. But my concern for myself and my concern for you is the negative aspect to what you are creating. So now that I've said that, let me go back. Karma is really just your thoughts, your actions, your beliefs, what you're speaking. The Hindus kind of just categorize that as action. The Christians categorize that as sowing and reaping. What you're planting is creating your future now. That is all that karma is. And you want to be mindful of it. I'm just trying to go back and summarize everything that I've said. You want to be mindful of it, because the negative things that you've created, the negative stuff that's kind of in that karmic bucket, has the ability to come into your future and affect you. And you don't want that. Now, the positive things, bring it on, give it to me all day. But the things that were created unconsciously, you don't want those things to kind of catapult forward into your future. And so awareness is the first step. Just know that everything that you are doing, even what I'm doing now, is a part of karma. It is sowing, it is reaping, it is action. And so you want to become more conscious of it. Do you have to live your life as some holy saint? Good luck to you if you can do it. But for most people, that's impossible. But you do want to have the awareness that what I'm doing now is create my future. Plain and simple. So, you want to stop. And how do you stop, Tonya? By being positive. by being kind, by being loving, by being joyful, by creating positive things, by speaking life, by shifting your belief patterns to ones that are positive, by being who you were supposed to be when you came into this earthly body, by not being affected by all the things that you've picked up along the way, all the negative things that you've picked up, what your parents spoke over your life, your first encounter with a boyfriend that broke your heart, the times that you didn't have money. You want to disconnect yourself from all of those things. It's in the past. It was what it was. The only thing that matters is what is happening to me in this now moment and what I'm creating in this now moment. So you want to start shedding all of that stuff and start with a clean slate. And as you are doing that, that karmic entanglement or that karmic bond will start to dissolve. Let me further clarify. When you hear all these people talking about the power of positive thinking, Norman Vincent Peale wrote a book on it. All these people are talking about the power of positivity. That is where your power lies. By raising your vibration as high as you can from moment to moment, you dissolve that karmic ribbon and that karmic bond. So I do this thing where I call it no mind. It is sometimes hard for me to be positive and joyous in every single moment because that's just not who I am. And that is not who I am simply by my own karmic action. As I was in states of despair and depression, because of my unconscious awareness, I was tying myself further to those states simply because I just didn't know. So now that I know, I live life a little differently, but back then I didn't know, right? And so I still have things happen to me as a human being. You're going to have things that just take a turn or just aren't as favorable as you would like them to be. Like I moved here and I had a couple of things happen as soon as I moved into the house. That's life. Here's what you don't want to do, and here's the difference for me now. I don't dwell on those situations. I try to just figure out and remind myself this is what needs to be done. Instead of going down the road of lamenting, why is this happening in a brand new house, and the people did this, and da-da-da-da-da, and why is it this way? Those kinds of things are creating or strengthening that karmic bond, and that's what you don't want. So to the extent that you can start with a clean slate in every single moment, it is what it is. Right now, the basement leaked. All the people get the basement repaired. And so to the extent that you can stop having all of that extra, we're going to call it, around the event that you, we're just going to say you prefer not to be experiencing. When you don't create all of that negative charge around it, then you aren't creating future karma. And in the now moment, you're going to find that it blesses you and benefits you as well to just let it go. It will just spin out of your experience much quicker. If you lament about it, complain about it, and you start creating all of this negativity around it, you're going to find that it's going to stay. What you resist persists is the phrase that I've heard a lot. It's just going to stay in your experience based on law of attraction. In other words, when you're negative, you attract negative states. And so all this stuff is kind of riding shotgun together. And to the extent that you can be more positive, you're going to find that the negative things are just going to bounce out. Because if you're here and the negative thing is here, there's a nice little gap. But if you're down here and you are complaining and you are lamenting about it and you're calling a friend and you're cussing and you're fussing, you all are right on that same plane. Now you can sync up with all that negative stuff, and that's what you don't want to be doing. So Now that I've learned all of that, when I can't always keep myself at the positive, high flying vibration, again, that's not my personality. That's not who I've created myself to be at this point in time. Some people were born that way. I know people, my husband is one, is an extremely positive person. That is his personality. That's just not who I am and how I show up all the time. I have to work a little bit harder to get to that space, and that's okay. But because I know that, self knowledge is key. Because I know that that's not my natural default state, I know that I have to work a little bit harder to stay there. I do this thing that I call no mind. And by no mind, I mean that if I can't be positive about it, I'm not going to be negative about it either. And so I try to get myself in a state of neutrality. And I do that in meditation, but I also do that when I find myself in a negative state that I can't exactly get to positivity about. I had a small leak in my basement. I was really struggling, trying to see the good in that. I did eventually get there, and that's a practice that I highly recommend. If you can find the good in a situation, if you can practice gratitude, and there typically is always something good in a situation, then hey, you're going up the scale. You're raising your level of vibration, and the negative stuff stays here. This is where you want to create from. This is where life is. This is where love is. This is where great relationships are. This is where money and success reside. This is where health is not down here. So you want to try to keep yourself up here as much as you can. And like I said, if I can't get here, I'm at least going to try to get here. I'm going to at least try to move myself from here up to here. And I do that by trying to remain in a state of neutrality. Again, positivity is always better. But if you can't get there, at least try to get to neutrality. Here's an example. My situation when my basement leaked. I couldn't find the good in it, but I finally was able to get to a place of, well, at least the whole basement didn't flood. At least it was just a little trickle of water. At least when the guy came, he was honest, and it actually wasn't that expensive to get it repaired. It could have been much, much worse. There are people whose entire foundations are bowing in or caving in. And it was just a little trickle of water. And thank God you caught it early. And thank God it wasn't behind the drywall. And I'm working my way. Up the scale. Thank God it wasn't a situation where you had mold in your home. There were so many things to be grateful for in that moment. It was just a little bitty spot in an unfinished area, and it was easily taken care of. Was I disappointed? Sure. Did I tumble down off the high mountain when I first saw it and I had just moved in? Sure. But at the end of the day, it was nothing. And so try to work your way as best as you can to the state of neutrality first. And if you can get all the way up to the positive place, that is even better. So that's my definition of karma, and that is my piece on why you want to address it. You want to be aware of it. And that final piece is my take on how you manage that process and how you keep from creating more. Again, positivity, everything. We live in an attraction-based universe. And so what you are thinking, speaking same, as with karma, you are attracting. And so once I got that, life became much easier for me. And all the other things now had an explanation. And so if you can just work towards being positive, work towards raising your vibration, or like I said, if you can't get all the way to 10 when something unfortunate is being experienced in your life, at least try to get to a state of neutrality about it. If you can get to neutrality, it's easier to get to the higher vibration. And I do that by trying to find the good in the thing. I do that by practicing no mind and neutrality if I can. I do that by shifting my focus off the negative state. Distracting myself works. If you can just do that by watching a video, or as I said, talking to a friend, those kinds of things stop the karmic train. And as you stop the karmic train, your future gets much